All right, we'll start out with a little pop quiz.
What are two of the main things about your domain registration that impact your search ranking? The number of years you have it registered for.
How short it is, the name.
And the
Nope.
TLD.
Well, I was really thinking of both of the things with the dates. How long you had it helps, but how long you're gonna have it helps a lot more.
You mean paying multiple years down the road?
Yes.
If the search engine sees that you're just buying it for a year, they're not so sure you're going to be around. It does impact your ranking. A lot of people don't realize that. They think, well, what's it matter? Well, nobody knows how much anything impacts ranking because they don't tell us. But they have seen that would impact us.
So how many years do you need to buy it?
More than two or more. Just so it doesn't look like you're one of those buy it 1 year at a time in case you're going to go out of business and buy it next year in case you're going to go out of business, that sort of thing.
And so when I was with a Just Host for a few years here or better, about 5 or so, and then when I switch over, did we get away from Just Host?
No, that doesn't change the amount of time you've had the domain name.
That's the URL registration.
Your registration is set.
So my sites that I've had for a while and everything just remain.
That helps you, but how long you have that registration into the future helps you even more.
Good.
So if you just have paid through 2015, it could impact your ranking versus if you went ahead and paid through 2020 because something you want to keep.
Oh, I see. So you can actually pay ahead.
Yeah.
And
buy up to 10 years in advance.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And if you do buy that, then they think, well, you must be really stable.
And most of the registries will give you a discount.
The cliche for that would be pay it forward.
Yep. Pay it forward and rank it higher.
So who's the best web site that will give you the best discount on multiple years?
As far as domain registration, they're all pretty much about the same because they're mandated by ICANN.
I'm using Google for all of mine.
Well,
They just opened that to everybody.
I switched from GoDaddy to domain.com. I switched from GoDaddy to domain.com.
I think GoDaddy owns them.
GoDaddy's a pig. I
All
tell
right.
them almost every time I talk to them too.
They probably got you on caller ID.
So what was the second thing?
It was how long you've had it and how long you're going to have it.
So when you say complex topic there, is that relating to the shortness or getting to the point name?
No, this is why we're going to be here all night.
Okay.
Because it's a complex topic. It's a mathematical algorithm as to where you're going to rank in Google or Bing's search, and that algorithm is changing regularly. And sometimes it changes and then changes back. So it's a difficult thing to stay on top of. It's also not published.
And so therefore people can't stuff the ballot box.
Right. And there are companies that spend all their time trying to figure out what changed in the algorithm. So if Google comes out with a new update, say Panda or something like that, there are companies that will tell you probably within 24 to 48 hours what they think got changed and what they're seeing is different in the rankings. But Google won't necessarily. Sometimes they'll come out and they'll hint at what they changed, but they won't say, okay, we've now ranked sites with a blue background 2.785% higher than sites with a red background. So that's why it's kind of complex. There's tons of education on it. I know of these people that I worked with, and I'll tell you about them in a minute. They were pretty much SEO gurus, and they still went away for 40-hour seminars to learn more. And then there's people that get certified, and those certifications can take hours and lengthy tests. So it's a really just another example of how complicated it can be.
Now, can I back up just a minute and get the acronym for the SEO and what is
Search engine optimization.
SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. It's a field of specialization to try and help a website or a web entity rank better within the search engines. The main search engine is Google with over 80% of the market share, and Bing is following behind, picking up what they can.
By the way, it's
Is
not being
that
card.
worldwide, 80%? Or is that US?
No, that's just US.
I saw a Bing card the other day in High Point going through the streets. I was amazed.
Do
Yeah,
it.
the Google card maps everything.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to map.
Yeah. Things change about every 2 weeks. Some of it's announced, some of it's not. When they have a major update, you'll hear lots of buzz about it. But sometimes they just tweak something and try and see what the tweak does, and then maybe even undo it. One of the first resources I'll give you is searchengineland.com. is a really good website for keeping you up to speed on what's going on with search engines. And they have a blog. If you look up in the top right of their menu, you can subscribe to their blog. It's one of those that publishes regularly. So if you don't like getting something in your inbox every day, don't subscribe to it. But it really is some pretty good things. For example, we're going to talk a little bit about local, but like in their search engine section, here was everything you need to know about Google's local algorithm, the local search results, and their update was called Pigeon. And there's like little 12 or 13 point article about what they saw changed when Pigeon was rolled out. So lots of information there, but it's a good resource if you want to try and learn more about search engines and stay in tune with it. They're a good source. Another reason it's complicated, your best practice today could cause to get you a penalty tomorrow. Examples of that would be, used to be you would rank higher if your domain name and your keyword were pretty closely related, like Craig's Widgets and the keyword, and I was selling widgets and people were searching on widgets. Now that's something called an exact match domain name, and they started penalizing it.
Oh my God.
Now they've backed off of it a great deal, but people were trying to capitalize on it, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Backlinks. For a long time, Google said if there are lots of other websites that are linking to your site, then they must think you're an expert, and we're going to rank you higher because you've got that much credibility. Then people went out and bought backlinks and stuffed backlinks into basically backlink directory sites. Now, if your backlinks aren't from a good source, Google will penalize you.
So will Google actually go back on things they've been quoted to say?
Yes. The guys in this office that I was working in would just sit there frustrated because a new... Can I close these halfway? Because something new had come out, and they're going, well, that's what they told us to do a year ago.
Yes.
I mean, we're exactly following their directions, and now they're saying change it. And what's happening is Google's having to change because people are getting in and trying to game the system. So what was good practice then is now bad practice, and they have to change.
Well, I think there's a fine line between gaming the system and doing what Google's telling you.
Right.
And it's not like people are getting penalized because
I think it's back here, is it? So yes, what you're saying, even things that people think are still best practice, Google's now vacillating on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead and have a seat over here. Sit down.
And most of you guys know me, but I am not an SEO expert. I'm just a WordPress developer. But about 6 months ago, one of my WordPress website clients, who I'd gotten to know, asked me to come in and do some process improvement stuff within their business. So I did half a week, 20 hours a week, in their business working on setting up some processes and systems to help them get more efficient and to grow their business. And while I was there, I kept hearing all the lamentations of, oh no, look, this changed. Or we'd go in and look at a website and do an audit and say, ooh, that's bad. They don't need to do that. They shouldn't be doing that. So I won't be able to answer all the questions. There's probably not too many people out there who can answer all the questions, but I definitely am not one of those people. I know enough to be dangerous. And I have sources, so if we run into something that we think is a good question for them, I'll be happy to forward it and get back to it. But in all honesty, I put the program together so it won't take all night, so let me keep going and we'll get going. You've heard this saying a lot, and this is still true with search engine optimization, and that's content is king. Basically, we went from a few years ago where there were a few rules with the search engine, and you tried to mastermind those rules or game those rules to your best benefit and make your site look like a great site based on Google's definition. They have gotten so smart now that they basically don't just crawl your site, they read your site. They know what you're talking about. They know how frequently you're updating it. They know what's going on with your website. And they're basically saying we're going to reward the sites that are built like a reader would want. It needs to be current. It needs to be accurate. It needs to be easy to read. And it needs to be accessible. And so if you design your site like your end user really wants the site to be, then you're going to do better in Google. And you don't need to necessarily worry about gaming them and doing everything they want. It's just going to happen naturally. And I'll give you some examples of those as we go through. But content is king. And kind of to that...
Current, accurate, easy to read. What else was the point?
They'll come up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Site needs to be normal.
Yeah. Site needs to be normal. If it looks weird, if it's looks like it's trying to do something funky, you're going to be penalized. Now, that changes. This is one of those things where Google over time will say, hey, you know what? The normal is different now. You know, but you've got to just, and that's why it's in quotation marks. It's basically weirdness gets penalized. If you try to do something too funky, too weird, Google won't know what to do with it, and you'll probably drop down in the rankings. So you've got to be kind of normal. Your content needs to be on message. If it looks like you've got a bunch of pages on your website that don't relate to each other, Google's going to say, hey, they're trying to stuff their content with a bunch of stuff to make it look like a more robust site. This isn't really what the reader wants, so we're not going to rank them well. If you've got a bunch of content that's on topic and on message, they'll rank you higher. They're smart enough to know what words kind of go together, you know. They look and see how often you're updated. If you've got a stale site that's not updated regularly,
What's regularly?
it varies. Depends on how big your site is. I would say that's the benefit of blogs and those sorts of things, that you can update once or twice a week. But what happens is if Google crawls your site, sees there's no updates, crawls it again, sees there's no updates, you actually have something on your site called a crawl budget. And Google will say, well, there's been no changes in 3 weeks. We'll only crawl this website once a month. And then if there's nothing there, we'll only crawl this site once every 3 months.
Yeah, I haven't been posting except for changing one
If
page.
your site's not crawled, then you don't have a chance to get indexed by Google and show up in a search. So they will rank it lower. If you and a competitor, all other things being equal, and he's or she's posting regularly, they're going to rank higher.
Now,
No, when you call
the,
it
go ahead.
when you call it posting regularly, does that mean like, does that tweaking a page or making it better count, or are they talking about just totally new content?
Usually new content. They will notice the tweaks, but it's not necessarily something they can re-index or add to your
Just new content.
listing. Yeah.
And the blog versus website. Now, is there blogs within the website? I mean, if you're always updating blog, does that count towards the website?
If that's on the same domain. So if it's at CraigBiles.com, and I'm updating my blog on, then the CraigBiles.com website is getting re-indexed. If I've got CraigBiles.com and I'm updating Craig at Blogspot.com, then all the new content's giving Blogspot the credit,
Okay.
not my website. That's why we've been saying for a long time, put your blogs onto your website. Why make somebody go to two different places, and why split your traffic? Let's see. Each page is indexed uniquely, and that's something you need to strive for. In that, basically, like a chapter in a well-written book, each chapter has a topic that it's going through and it's dealing with. Same thing with your web pages. Don't try and put too much onto a web page, because Google wants to come in, look at your title tag, look at your content, look at your alt tags, and say this page is about cypress trees. And you will be indexed higher for cypress trees because Google can see that that page is uniquely about that. And then put another page about oak trees. And another page, if that makes sense to your reader. Split them up, index them individually, rather than trying to do a page about trees and you're not specific enough that Google is then drilling down for the end user.
Ray, are you going to address, or can you use a category in a WordPress site?
A little bit, only in that it's dangerous. But yeah, I'm going to get to a page about how WordPress is impacting. No duplicate. Oh, it's actually right here. Good call, Randy. No duplicate content. This is probably one of the biggest things that Google is looking for, because that's what we all did to game the system a little bit. You know, we put the 10 cities that we service in the footer on every page. We put stuff all throughout the site trying to. And so if Google sees anything like two pages that looks very, very similar, they will say there's duplicate content. These people might be trying to puff up their website bigger than it is, and we're going to be wary of this.
Okay, so are you talking about, for example, I've got a page that says, I'm the great Greensboro WordPress designer, and I have the same page. I'll just change Greensboro to High Point. Put that page.
Yes, that will be seen as duplicate
So
content.
that's
Pretty close to
2003
forbidden,
kind of
yeah.
work.
But here's where the WordPress comes in. WordPress gives us the ability to bring up archives. So search my site by author and show me all of them that John Williams wrote. Well, that all those posts are also in an archive by date, and they're also in an archive by category. So some of the WordPress information that's out there is best practice is to no index those categories. So Google doesn't see them and list them as duplicates.
I wonder if do you know if that's something Yoast takes care of?
Yeah, I'm going to show you how.
Okay.
how
I figured
how-
you were going to get to that.
I'm going to show you how we do it.
Okay, cool.
Again, content is king. I said earlier, backlinks. Backlinks are when another website links to your website and drives traffic over to it. Backlinks are still very important and very powerful, but you've got to make sure they're coming from a well-established, credible site. You don't want to be in one of these backlink directories. You don't want to be... If you can see that the people that are connecting to you are using some what we call black hat techniques, they're trying to game the system. It's basically, we're going to try and sneak this or increase our ranking by doing something a little unkosher. You really don't want to link from that site. So go, and it's hard to build a backlink. There are companies that do that for you at a great cost when they do it right, because it's a lot of relationship building. Calling and emailing and saying, we're a credible source. We've got content that your readers are interested in. Why don't you list us on your site, and go from there. Another thing just to throw out there with backlinks is you don't always know what other sites are linking to you. So if you change any page URLs, make sure you do 301 redirects. Is everybody familiar with those? Okay.
Why don't you take a minute and explain that a little
Okay.
bit? Or how-to.
Plugin.
I have a redirect plugin.
Redirection? That's
Yeah.
what I use.
Like
have
plugin.
Redirect plugin?
But basically, if
Is
you
that what
have
it's called? Redirect?
Redirection.
if you have a web page that's called Craig's House, domain name / Craig's House, and I change that to domain name / my house, anybody that's got a hard-coded link into Craig's House is going to get a 404. They're going to get a page not found if they try to go there. But you can go into, through a plugin or through some other mechanisms, and tell Google, Craig's House page is now called My House, and it's a permanent change, so update all your files. And anybody that's looking for this, you're telling Google that, and you're telling the basically the web, that if somebody tries to go to that page, redirect them to the newer page. And yes, I use a plugin called Redirection, and it's been working very well.
Yeah, you don't have to open an HTML file, which I'm sure.
And here's a little golden nugget for you on backlinks. If you get a link from a website that's .gov or .edu, you just I'm not going to say you shot to the front of the line, but you have a lot more ranking with those backlinks than with just one from a .com site, because Google is giving .gov and .edu a lot of credibility and a lot of weight, and we'll talk a little bit about weight in a little bit. And so those links from one of those sites is very valuable.
And so on the .gov or the EDUs, the education, anything from schools to whatever, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if they find your content very useful and things, and they link to you, or you invite them to link to you, so do you just give them a call, or how do you broadcast the invitation to link back to you?
It's hard to do because they're very tight about what they put on their site. How are you going to get on Department of Motor Vehicles? That's, think of that, So it's hard to do, and that's why Google has given them more credibility, It's basically, you've got to do like with any other site, you've got to convince them that your website has content that their readers need.
Okay.
And if you can convince somebody there in their web department to do that, that's true, and get that link, that's valuable.
Backlinks aren't visible, are they?
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you mean like, can I go out and find out who all's backlinked to me? Or
No,
do
they've done runs on where I paid somebody to do backlinks. Stuff comes up that's not even related, and when you go to the page, you don't see my name. Do you understand what I'm saying?
if you go to the page, you should see your name.
Should.
Yeah.
What about keyword links?
Keyword links are interesting, and I don't profess to understand all the nuances of them, but keyword links have kind of gotten
Not what they used to be.
a rap as like keyword stuffing, like trying to game the system. They're a little bit black hat. The good news is that your brand name is not considered keyword stuffing. So if you have a link to your company name or your domain or that sort of thing, you're not considered stuffing. But I think that's a little bit of what came up with those exact match domain names. Is it Craig's Widgets, and everywhere I put widgets throughout the site as a link to my homepage got to look a little goofy to Google.
Now, what I've been looking one way, but I get to people's blogs that are specific to what I'm doing as well. But reading some of those blogs, there's different, like when they say tiny co-housing, or they say, all these buzzwords that's going on and need definition. So it could be like the permaculture would have a link to it, so it will take you to, I don't know, something that talks all about permaculture.
Right.
Is that good, bad? I notice a lot of the hyperlinks, words or quotes.
The best.
Tiny house or tiny or pocket communities, all this kind of stuff.
The best practice is if it's legit. In other words, if it's a good way to get the reader to more information or another indexed page, it's probably not a problem. If you're trying to use the word tiny house in every other sentence, so that because you think Google's going to see this as a website really about tiny houses, it's going to penalize. It's going to get you penalized. Google will see it that one time, see that it's linked to a page that's indexed about tiny houses,
Right.
and say this guy's providing good content to his reader. Move him up. He's going to see. They're also going to see if you use tiny house in every other sentence, and say there's really no need for this many links. This guy's trying to game the system.
So every time you say tiny house as an example, doesn't mean you have to make it a link.
Right.
You can leave
Right.
it part of the content
Right.
and link it in some key areas where they're
Right.
first coming to it, to where they might, within the first paragraph, there would be,
Right.
let's say, 4 or 5 links, because the terms were pointed out. Then it goes on through the body to explain and go on about their topic. And if the people were really interested in those 4 points, they can go back up there and pick on the link.
They can. And just remember, just like good authorship with a book, someone wouldn't write a book and use the same word in every sentence. They would try and get out their thesaurus and try and make it easier for the reader to read. Same thing applies to your website.
Okay.
So if content's king, then my little buzzword is tricks equal tragedy. Yes, Google will derank a site.
So if you've got somebody that's like that guy's put backlinks for me, I should go back and eliminate all of them? Or contact the sites and tell them to take it down?
If you can, yeah. That's the best way to do it. Especially if they don't relate to your site. Because you're not losing anything anyway. If they relate to your site and they might drive traffic, then that's a valid backlink. But if they don't relate to what you do, that's just someone that's told you they'll get you 500 backlinks, and that's what they did. They went out and got 500 no matter what.
Shoes and stuff that don't relate to it.
Yeah. So sites can be penalized and deranked and flagged as penalized. Keyword stuffing we already talked about. It's one of what I consider, or what I've heard, will be the top 2 problems. Too much of a good thing is suspicious, and that's why Google keeps changing the algorithm. Some of you guys remember how, especially right after Google bought YouTube, anytime you had a video on a topic, you came up like top of the Google search, and everybody started selling video reviews, video testimonials, videos for your website, because they said we can help you rank better. And then Google said, you know what, everybody's gaming it, video's not the be-all end-all, and we're going to do okay with YouTube without having to rank all these things so high. And so too much of a good thing made them suspicious. They started looking for any time someone is overdoing a practice. Sites do have weight. It's difficult to find out what the weight of your website is in Google's eyes, but there are other companies that will give you an approximation of your site's weight.
What is weight versus page rank?
Similar, same thing. There's page rank and then there's domain authority, are 2 ways to measure weight.
I mean, I have a page rank of 4, but I think the reason the way I got it was because a site of 5, I have an ad on it and he's backlinked to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I think I got it. And that's a very meaty site in the top 2,000, you know what I mean, or something like that.
Yeah, this is going to be hard to see, but up here where I've got the cursor going across, I've loaded a Moz toolbar. And Moz tells me that this page that I'm on has a page authority of 1, which is nothing. A rank of 0 and a domain authority of 0. But I'm not on a home page. I'm just on a WordPress page. So let's go. Anybody want to see one?
Yeah, I want to see mine.
What is it?
Survive, SURVIVE, dash, hyphen, thrive, US. Now I know I'm a 4.
Page authority is 24. 3.58. No, that's 24 out of 100.
Okay, so that's like a 2.4.
And domain authority is 23.
So is that out of the
Are
100
these-
too?
are
That's out of 100 also.
Factors that Moz charge? Or
Yeah.
pull it from somewhere?
These are Moz's measurements. In fact, that middle one, that MR, is Moz rank. I think that one's on a scale of 10.
So, what's the normal rank?
There really isn't a normal. I mean,
What's the average size?
There used to be a page rank number between 1 and 10.
Oh, there still is.
They have,
that's what
Is
Moz
there
is calling
still-
Moz rank now.
Yeah,
They, you know, they
page
have,
rank.
they're all kind of proprietary. They're all
Yeah.
building their own formulas. But, you know, it's hard, you know, is Cake and All Things Yummy on Main Streets normal versus Amazon? No, Amazon's not. Versus Crossroads Forward. Okay, they've got different resources, different web stuff. So normal's hard to say. The higher, the better. And what you really want to look for is a trend. If Google puts out a new algorithm and your number goes down, then something that you're doing got penalized. You need to try and figure out what it is. It's
How
not.
do you get the Moz toolbar?
It's a free tool from Moz.
So you go to Moz.com?
Mm-hmm. The other thing we'll show you, we're going to talk a little bit about Google Analytics, but up where your URL is in the address bar, you can barely see a little green ball right there. It says AH. That's my analytics helper, and that's at a glance I can tell that you've got your Google Analytics loaded on the website.
If I forgot how to get in it and use it.
Is that a browser plugin?
These are both Chrome. That's a Chrome extension, yeah. And it's hard to find. So if you can't find it, I had a tough time today putting it on this laptop because it's on my
It's called
desktop.
Google Analytics.
It's called Analytics Helper,
that one.
but it is it's tough to find it. I don't know why. I don't know if they've got it in the wrong category or something. But if you can't find it, shoot me an email and I'll get you the URL. It's a goofy URL in the Chrome store. You know, they have all these long alphabet stuff. So she's got pretty good weight. You know, it's definitely not sitting there at 0. So I wouldn't mind a backlink from her. Okay? Because what I was getting at with the websites having weight is a backlink to you can carry its weight along with it.
So what would be the number that you would look at if you went into, you know, I would go look at sites, I want to put an ad on or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
The higher the number, the better.
I know, but you said...
I don't have a magic number that says everybody over 20 is good or everybody under 50 is weak. Most people are in the same category or lower than you because most of us are small sites with not a lot of traffic. We were just talking earlier. If you've got a site that's getting 10,000 visits a month, you're doing phenomenal. You know.
I would think if you get 1,000, would it be?
Well,
What's the average on that?
I don't know.
The
The
average
average
is
is
probably
probably
like-
about 5.
Yeah, 0.
Well, I
Or
probably
10.
3.2.
I probably by not posting have done something to mine because it's basically the same number of visitors, but my rank in Alexa has gone from 5,000 to 12. I was looking at it today. I'm going backwards, and it's been going on since
Right. So here's what I meant by karma is shareable. If the site that's backlinking to
5
you
million.
is weighted nicely, and they didn't put no follow and didn't try and keep that weight from moving forward, it will move over and help your site. If the site that's backlinking to you has been penalized, the penalty can come across as well.
That makes sense.
That was the company I used to work for. Was
The link
my
farm.
job was to build up these websites that created backlinks,
Mm-hmm.
like rank the site high, and then put our client's website URLs in the sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
And Google manually de-indexed all those portals that I made, and it just killed all our clients' sites.
Mm-hmm.
That like single-handedly.
Yep.
Our company.
That's the problem buying those
That's
backlinks
scary.
in.
Buying a black hat or gray hat backlink company services, yes, that's the problem with them. There are credible backlink providers, but they do a lot of legwork and relationship building, and they're expensive.
I think there's one that keeps writing me called PR backlinks.
Yeah, there's a bunch of bad ones out there. Basically, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Well, they want like maybe say they want $75 a month to put one backlink.
These
on.
guys want $3,000.
Yeah, we would charge probably $750 to $1,500 a month.
One backlink.
No, for building backlinks, and we'd have an annual plan of how many you're expecting to get and how soon the first ones would be and that sort of thing. So biggest offenders we already talked about: keyword stuffing, duplicate content. So those are your two pros and your two ends of the spectrum when it comes to content. Good stuff written with the reader in mind. And if you go to a SEO seminar where the guys really know what they talk about, a good strategy they will teach you is first write your web page for your reader. Go in, write it, give them the information they need, give them the resources that they're looking for. Then come back and optimize it for search engine. We've gotten so worried about what Google's going to say, we did it the other way around. We wrote all of these web pages that had 5 cities every other sentence. You know, we're the best provider in the Greensboro, High Point, Clemens, and St. Thomas areas. and then the next sentence said, but if you are looking for somebody in Greensboro, High Point, St. Thomas,
Right.
and people couldn't even read it because it was so.
Right.
Don't do that. Write it for your reader. Pass along the information. Hopefully one topic per page. Then come back and look at it from a SEO perspective, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
How many hyperlinks do you need in your posts?
As
Is there a rule on that too?
As many as your readers need to get the information.
So it doesn't make it look any better or worse whether you have hyperlinks in it.
It will make it look worse if you've got it stuffed with hyperlinks.